The rain had already started by the time I arrived at Saint Dymphna Medical Center. Not heavy rain, just enough to make the old building look like it was sweating. The hospital sat alone at the edge of town, surrounded by dead weeds and rusted fencing that leaned inward like it was trying to keep something trapped inside. Most people in Bryan County avoided the place entirely. Officially, it closed in 1998 after asbestos contamination and structural damage. Unofficially, people said patients disappeared there long before the doors were chained shut, and if you stayed near the property after dark, you could sometimes hear an intercom voice calling for nurses who'd been dead for decades. Now, personally, I don't trust any building with a flickering red exit sign. That's basically horror movie language for "you're about to ruin your life." But I went anyway, because 3 weeks earlier, a maintenance worker entered the abandoned hospital for a city inspection and never came back out. No body, no explanation, just his flashlight found rolling in the hallway outside a sealed room on the 4th floor. A room that didn't officially exist on any blueprint, and the city wanted someone to document the site before demolition began. That someone was me. I've spent years filming abandoned places, old prisons, burned hotels, underground tunnels. Most of the time, the fear disappears once you realize every strange sound is just water dripping through rotten pipes. Most of the time. But Saint Dymphna felt wrong immediately. The lobby still smelled faintly of antiseptic beneath the mold. Wheelchairs sat overturned near the reception desk. Papers littered the floor like leaves after a storm. And then there were the clocks. Every single clock in the hospital had stopped at exactly 2:17. I noticed it on the 1st floor, then the 2nd, then the 3rd, all frozen. 2:17. You can call that coincidence if you want. I tried. At first, I set up my camera rig and continued down the main corridor. My flashlight swept across appealing wallpaper and faded patient charts still hanging outside rooms. Room 312, room 314, room 316. Then suddenly, room 34. Oh, no missing numbers in between, just a jump, like part of the hallway had been erased. That was the first moment I considered leaving. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially when paired with isolation and a camera lens. So I kept going. By the time I reached the 4th floor, the rain outside had become violent. Thunder rattled the windows hard enough to make dust fall from the ceiling. The 4th floor was colder than the rest of the building. Not figuratively, actually colder. I could see my breath. The flashlight beam trembled slightly in my hand as I moved deeper into the ward. Most doors were hanging open, revealing empty rooms stripped bare years ago. But one door stood untouched at the very end of the hallway. Gray steel. No room number. No window. And stretched across it, thick industrial chains wrapped around the handles. That was the sealed room. The same room where the maintenance worker disappeared. A faded paper sign had been taped to the center of the door. Water damage blurred most of the writing, but one sentence remained readable. Do not open under any circumstances. Now, usually, when you see a sign like that, your survival instincts should kick in. Mine apparently filed for early retirement. I moved closer, and that's when I heard it. Breathing. Slow. Uneven. Coming from the other side of the door. I froze. The camera microphone picked it up too. Not pipes. Not wind. Breathing. I called out. Hello. Silence. Then came 3 soft knocks from inside the room. Tap. 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 every hair on my arm stood up instantly. I remember staring at those chains, thinking the same thing you're probably thinking right now. If someone was trapped inside, why hadn't they screamed? Why knock politely? That question kept replaying in my head as I examined the door. The chains were old but recently disturbed. Fresh scrape marks cut through the rust near the lock. Something had been trying to get out, or someone had been trying to get in. I backed away and decided to radio the security team waiting outside. No signal. Of course, because abandoned hospitals apparently shared the same phone plan as elevators and underground parking garages. I started heading back toward the stairwell when the overhead intercom crackled to life. A burst of static echoed through the hallway. Then a woman's voice whispered, "Patient in room 9 is awake." The voice sounded distorted, ancient, like it had traveled through miles of broken wire just to reach me. And then every light on the floor went out. Complete darkness. You don't truly understand darkness until you're trapped inside a dead hospital with only one flashlight and the feeling that something is moving nearby. I clicked the flashlight back on. The hallway was empty, but the chain door was open, just slightly, about 3 inches. The chain still hung in place, which made absolutely no sense. I approached slowly, trying to convince myself there had to be another explanation. Maybe the hinges broke. Maybe pressure shifted the frame. Maybe I was moments away from becoming the dumbest person in county history. The gap between the door and frame revealed only darkness inside. But then I smelled something. Burning. Not fire. Burned flesh. A thick, sickening odor that hit the back of my throat instantly. And beneath it, another smell. Bleach. Fresh bleach. Like someone had cleaned the room recently. My flashlight flickered as I pushed the door wider. The room inside was enormous. Much larger than it should have been based on the building layout. Old surgical curtains hung from ceiling tracks. Rusted medical equipment lined the walls beneath sheets stained dark brown. And in the center of the room sat a hospital bed, occupied. At first I thought it was a corpse, a body strapped beneath restraints. But then the chest moved, breathing, slowly. I stepped closer before common sense finally punched me in the face. Every instinct screamed at me to run. But the figure spoke first. Did they send another one? The voice sounded dry and cracked, barely human. I raised the flashlight higher. The patient's skin looked pale gray beneath the restraints. Their eyes reflected the light strangely, almost animal-like, and the restraints weren't holding them down. They were holding them together. Stitches covered their arms, their neck, their face, as if multiple bodies had been sewn into one. I stumbled backwards so fast I nearly dropped the camera. The patient smiled. I told them the room wouldn't stay closed forever. Then the lights came back on, and suddenly, the room was empty. No bed, no patient, nothing, just dust. My heart hammered so hard I thought I might pass out. I spun toward the doorway and saw handprints covering the outside wall. Fresh, bloody handprints, hundreds of them, all leading down the hallway toward the stairwell. That's when I heard running footsteps below me. Fast, violent, coming upward. I didn't wait to investigate. I ran. The camera bounced wildly as I sprinted through the corridor. Behind me, metal doors slammed shut one after another with explosive force. Bang, bang, bang. Closer each time. The footsteps gained speed. Something was chasing me. I hit the stairwell door and nearly fell down the steps trying to escape. The sounds followed all the way to the 3rd floor. then the second. Then suddenly, silence. I stopped halfway down, gasping for breath. And that's when I noticed something carved into the wall beside me. A message scratched deep into the paint. Room 9 was never sealed to keep people out. It was sealed to keep something in. The police searched the hospital the next morning after I handed over the footage. They found no fourth floor sealed room, no chains, no surgical ward. According to city blueprints, that section of the hospital had collapsed 20 years earlier. But they did find something else. My camera, still recording, lying in an empty hallway, stopped at exactly 2:17 a.m. And here's the part I still can't explain. Near the end of the footage, just before the battery dies, you can hear someone whisper directly beside the microphone. Not me, not the police. A different voice, soft, broken, saying, "He opened the door. Now before you go checking abandoned hospitals on Google Maps at 2 in the morning, don't. Seriously, nothing good ever starts with the sentence, 'I found this creepy building online.' But if you enjoyed tonight's story, there's another nightmare waiting for you on this channel."